perception that livestock is often seen as a negative factor in the global international media. I mean, does that really matter? I mean, if you're a smallholder, livestock keeper in Ethiopia or Kenya, does it matter that the international media sees livestock in this way?
Well, it's the influence of the media on those who might invest in the livestock sector at the national level or in research, for example. If we take the case of dams, as you know, there have been a lot of controversy around dams, for example. Now, there have been good and bad dams, many good dams which have brought a lot of irrigation to places like India and China and so on. That has helped agriculture production enormously. But there were also some bad dams, not well thought out, not well executed, which have led to a lot of environmental consequences and human disasters as well. And over time, lots of negative impressions about dams have developed and have been cultivated. These days, hardly anyone looks at building dams because of the negative impressions, yet they can still be very useful. Similarly, if we do not have a balanced approach, a very well thought out approach to what are the good and bads of livestock, and everything's just lumped as being bad, over time, our policymakers, our investors will leave the sector because it is seen as too negative, too high risk for them to accommodate. So that's one reason, that's a direct reason for Ethiopia wanting the government to invest or other investors to come in and invest in the livestock sector, or investments in research such as ILRI would need. But we also make the case very often that over 1 billion people depend on livestock for their livelihoods. So we need to represent those people in a more balanced way so that their engagement in the livestock sector can be realized and that they are not ignored in the development effort.
Well, what can ILRI do about this? I mean, you mentioned earlier that we can join with others. Is that sufficient? We just join with other people? Well, how would we make a dent on this?
Well, first of all, we need evidence. If we can bring evidence to the discussions, then we can help directly making the case, or also providing the evidence to others to make the case. For example, often cited as one of the bad things of livestock is hundreds of thousands of gallons of water used for the production of meat. That figure, in the first place, is really exaggerated, numerously put from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of gallons. But that figure is exaggerated, and it comes from feedlotting of livestock, a very small component of the total beef which is produced, yet it's used to be applied across all of livestock. So it's a case of misinformation. We need better evidence. We need to communicate that evidence ourselves or our partners, particularly national and international ones, NGOs. So providing the evidence, where livestock contributes positively and where it contributes negatively, and saying what we can do about both, accentuating the positives and mitigating the negatives. So our research and the evidence that we generate is a crucial part of this for making the case ourselves, but even more importantly, helping our partners to make the case based on sound evidence.
You could argue that ILRI has been generating evidence for the last 20, 30 years. Is it kind of been the wrong evidence, or has it been focused on different issues? Why don't we have this evidence?
No, we don't have all the evidence we want because we have not compiled it in a way that much of our work has been at the systems level. So we know a great deal about crop livestock systems, pastoral systems, and that evidence is being used on a daily basis by us and many others. What we're talking about, evidence that is related to some of the broader issues. What is the real impact of livestock on climate? What is the impact on animal source food, on nutrition and health, and so on? So it's a different, making the case in a different way, providing a different kind of evidence for a different kinds of audience. Our evidence so far has been linked mostly to the producers of livestock. But livestock operates in a political economy. So we have to generate evidence about livestock contribution to poverty reduction, livestock contribution to employment, livestock contribution to nutrition and health, and so on and so on. So it's additional evidence, not that the ones we've been producing is good and useful, certainly is. It's some additional evidence that we need to produce in the context of the global economy and in the political economy of livestock.
Now, we've also been you've been engaging in this kind of high-level conversations with the World Bank and the Gates Foundation, OIE, FAO. How does that fit in? Is that linked with this agenda at all, this group?
It is, because all these agencies, the World Bank, OIE, FAO, Gates, and others, are engaged in the sector, have various roles. OIE on disease control, FAO on global development, food security more broadly, Gates Foundation as a donor in helping to alleviate poverty, the World Bank through its investment programs to help poverty reduction, and so on. These are all partners who are engaged in the sector. And amongst them, we are unique because we are the research partner, and we are helping to provide the evidence. But they engage at fora that we do not usually engage at international fora, that often we are not invited to or don't have a place at the podium. And so our alliance with them is to help understand what they need at their level and help us to make the case that we need to make at our level so that we can get on with the business of getting the poor benefiting from global development efforts, and in our case, livestock.